Welcome everyone. Sorry about the technical glitches. I don't know what happened. We'll see if Thinkorswim's going to pull up or not. I don't know what happened. I was connected and then all of a sudden I was not connected and then it wouldn't connect. So the last time I had some issue like this, I had to log off and then log back on and then everything worked fine. So hopefully that will be the case today. We'll get Thinkorswim pulled up here. And let me get to the live stream. Turn that down, and then we should be good. So hopefully everybody can hear me. Anybody who is logged in, if you could maybe just say hello, let me know you can hear me and you can see everything, I would appreciate that. I just want to make sure everything is working correctly. I'll put an update in the room just in case. You guys will be seeing me do it. There we go. And now we can get back over here and squeeze this in. Again, if anybody is connected, please type in the comments that you can hear me and that you can see everything. I just want to make sure that everything is up and running. It says there's only one person in here right now. Now it says 2 people. So I know there's at least 2 of you. Todd Father said he wasn't going to be able to make it today because he had a meeting or something there at work. I'll let a couple more get connected. Again, if you can hear me, so far nobody's typed anything in. If you can hear me and you can see me, please let me know in the comments just so I know that everything is working. Because I do have your comments up here. Just going to give it a couple of minutes here and then we'll get started. But first of all, I got to make sure that you can hear me. Well, just in case, let me go back to the room. Okay, you can hear me, but the comments aren't working. That's interesting. Let me do this. I'm going to log out of the comments and then try to log back in. So give me 1 second here. Okay, there we go. Okay, beautiful. Let me get back to the screen. I guess even though I logged out and logged back in earlier, I had to do it on the comments as well, because now I can see that you can hear me. Okay, beautiful, beautiful. Okay, so here we are on ES. This is where we opened up today. This was at 2768.75, and we immediately sold off right down into demand. And I think it was Todd Father had asked me about was there any demand below, and there was. Okay, it was originally created right here. This is where it was originally created. Then it was tested right here, and as you can see, it worked beautifully. Look at this huge bounce away. Okay, that's what you want to see. Now, that may tell us that because of that big bounce away, there's still unfulfilled orders there. Meaning that the next time it gets tested, which is going to be over here. Now, it didn't quite get there here. Okay, you see we had this big flush, but it didn't quite get there. Didn't quite get there. Then we ranged. Okay, this was last night, right? This is where we opened the new week. We flushed down, and then we ranged all night long into the morning. Here's where we opened up. Okay, right here. We sold off, down into demand, and then we got this nice move away. And those of you who've been paying attention to the comments this morning, where did we bounce to? We bounced to almost exactly the 50% retracement of this entire move down. So whenever you have a big move or you're ending a big trend, okay, you know what to do, right? You can divide it into 33, 50, and 66%. And you're most likely, most of the time, say 75% of the time, you're going to come back to the 50% mark, right? And then from there, you may continue higher or lower. In this case, we bounced. We came back down. Now, I don't have it drawn in. I took it off. I did have it drawn in when I posted it in the room, but it was confluent right here with the 20 SMA on the 30-minute. For those of you who didn't see my comment, this purple line is VWAP. So I'm testing some things out. Nothing to report because I literally just started fiddling around with it this weekend, and it's on there for scalping reasons. Okay, because if I'm going to do this small account growth, challenge, or I don't like to call it a challenge. I mean, it's just trying to take a small account and show the members in our room how to grow it. It's going to be mostly through scalping and a few day trades. Will I ever take a swing trade in there? Maybe. I mean, I'm in that swing trade in USO right now. And I'm really glad, I'll talk about that more here in a minute, but I'm really glad I bought shares on that and not options because we did not get the bounce this morning that we thought we would get. I've been up as much as 3%, down as much as 2%. I put that in the room. And currently, I think I'm slightly down on USO. Okay, as you can see, we're sort of selling down right now as I'm talking. Okay, but anyway, that's why you'll see this on there. Sometimes it'll be on there, sometimes it won't. But it's something that I'm kind of testing and playing around with, and it has to do with scalping. So that's the only reason it's on my charts. As you can see here, the VWAP VWAP, however you want to say it. I always say VWAP, but has been respected this morning, okay, from a scalping perspective every time. Now, it doesn't mean it's always going to be respected, right? So just trying some things, and if they work, I'm obviously going to pass them along to you guys and let you know. If it doesn't work, then I don't even want you to be worried about it. So, but that's what this purple line is. So let's get back to this. So we sold off, we bounced out of demand. So like we said, we kind of figured because of the way it left here on the first entry, this huge move away, okay, we kind of figured that when it was tested again, there may be some unfulfilled orders there. And there was, right? So we bounced, we went up to the 50% level of this entire move to the downside. Then we bounced lower. Where did we bounce to? Right to support. See that? Right at 27.21. Then we bounced back up. Where did we bounce to? Basically, VWAP and the 20. Okay, you see that? And right now, just as we've been talking, it's been selling down a little bit. But is this now just sort of entering into a ranging phase? See this right through here? Okay, are we just going to range the rest of the day, or are we going to get some sort of big move up or down as we head into close? Well, we'll probably be together, right up until then. We'll kind of see how things are going. So let's see if it'll let me do anything with my alerts. So I'm going to put one, where do I want it? I think I'm going to put one right there, and it let me. So the alerts are at least working again, and I'm going to put one just above the 20 here. So as you guys may have seen on social media, TD Ameritrade, actually Thinkorswim, took a dive this afternoon and stopped working for a lot of people. I don't know if that was for every single person or if it was, I know there was enough people because people were complaining about it on social media. Before I even seen that, I knew something was up because you guys know I always have alerts, right? You see this? I always have alerts set. And I was trying to adjust some alerts on different names, and you can cancel an alert just by clicking on an X. Or if you hover over it, okay, then you can replace it if you want, right? I can click this, and you can go in, you can change the number, you can add notes, whatever, right? Well, all of a sudden, it stopped letting me do that. And I'm like, wait a minute here. It wouldn't let me like move, adjust, cancel, add any kind of alerts. So I knew something was up. And it was shortly after that, I posted in the room, it was shortly after that Sonny posted that Thinkorswim was dead. Then I was on Twitter and I saw these people, they're like, this is ridiculous. Come on, Thinkorswim, you're costing me money. And people were showing how now my screen never went blank. It just quit working. Some of them people, you saw their posts probably on Twitter or other social media platforms, their screens went blank. Their screens were just like black. Mine never did that, but it just wasn't working. I couldn't do anything. So imagine, excuse me, imagine, feel like I got something in my mouth there. Imagine you're in the middle of a trade. I don't care what size it is. It could be a big trade, it could be a small trade, and all of a sudden the platform quits working. And I've had that happen to me in the past. That was one of the main reasons I quit using them in the first place. That's happened to me more than once. I'd been either in a trade, had orders placed to get in a trade, and couldn't get filled, or was in a trade and couldn't get out. And in a couple cases, it did cost me money. And in other cases, it didn't hurt me, but still that helpless feeling of, hey, I'm in a trade and I can't do anything. The system's not working. And so that was one of the reasons I quit trading with them in the first place. I mean, to me, there's just absolutely no excuse for a platform. I mean, TD is probably, if not the biggest, one of the top, 2, 3 biggest in the world. Definitely here in the United States. And for them to have these kind of issues and to have recurring issues, because I didn't just leave. I mean, I had these issues over like a 6 to 8 month period. I was having a conversation with one of our free members the other night, and during that same time, it wasn't just that the platform was lagging. It was sometimes it would just freeze up. Sometimes it wouldn't let you place orders or get out of orders. But the one that really concerned me, and they fixed it every time, but it's still concerning, was my account information would be wrong. And when I say wrong, I mean way wrong. Like one time I opened up my platform in the morning and it said that I was negative $150,000. And I'm just like, what? I'm like, first of all, I'm not negative. I know I'm not. And I'm definitely, I have no idea where this is coming from. So I call them up and I'm like, what is going on? And, oh, we're sorry, Mr. Groves. There's just a little glitch in the system. We've identified the problem. We're working on it. It seems what is happening, and it's not on every account. And I know it wasn't, because I know a lot of people who trade with Thinkorswim, and some people weren't having that problem, but some people were. And what they told me was little glitch in the system where our system is withdrawing money from some people's accounts and putting money into other people's accounts. Well, first of all, again, that 150,000 number, that was totally random. I did not have 150,000 in my account. Okay, so like it might make sense on one, like say you had 150 and now it just says it's negative instead of positive. But I could kind of see something like that, but it wasn't even close to what was going on. So anyway, they said we're working on it. We should have it fixed here shortly. Went through an entire day. And finally, I think it was about 4 hours later, they got my account set back up right, like literally right before close that day. So I wasn't able to trade at all that day, nor would I wanted to, because I was so freaked out about that. Well, then slightly after that, exactly the opposite happened. I get up one morning, I log on. There was $50,000 more in my account than I knew I had. $50,000 to the good. And I'm an honest person. I mean, I immediately called them up and I'm just like, hey, just letting you know, there's like $50,000 in my account that it's not mine. I have no idea where this money came from. This time, they had it fixed in about 15 minutes. They're like, well, we're not really experiencing any problems. Let us check into this. And so they get back to me, and like 15 minutes later, it was corrected. The 50 grand was out. And again, it was, we're just having a little glitch with the system. It was the same exact thing that had happened before. They said that money had somehow got pulled out of somebody else's account and added to mine. The time before, they had like taken all kinds of money out of my account, money that wasn't even in there, and it was showing this negative balance. So, long story short, that was really when I started like freaking out about TD Ameritrade. I'm like, if they can't even keep the account information correct, and you're having issues with trades and with the system freezing up and lagging and all that, that's when I decided I was going to quit trading with them. I love their charting. I still use their charting. Again, if I could ever find a platform where it had everything, including even halfway decent charting, I would just use that platform. But anyway, okay, so it started to fade here, and then it sort of just kind of stalled out right here, and we have our alerts set. Lot of stuff going on today. So let's first of all look at AMD. I'm going to look at things I know were moving earlier. And this I put in the room. This is a trade that if I wasn't so consumed with everything I've got going on, because I like to trade AMD this would have been golden. So this is how we ended Thursday. Beautiful hammer after a strong down move. I know this is the 30-minute, okay, but still, okay, everything's lined up. You know, we opened up here, we flushed down a little bit, and then against the market, remember, the market was flushing down. AMD goes green above the hammer, and look at the move. All the way up here to resistance at 50.16. Over here is the high, right? And it still might even go higher. But look at this. 30, 1 hour, 30, 2 hours, 2.5 hours. 2.5 hours, it goes from 48.47. Now you would have entered above here. 48.50. You probably would have entered somewhere around 48.52 to 48.55. And then you could have rode that thing, you know, T1 for me probably would have been right here, just above the, just below the top of this wick. So about, let's see here, just about $1 there. And then T2 would have been up here for me where this base was, because I would have wanted to get out right before this. You know, I don't like to get caught on any kind of a bounce. Okay, so T2 would have been up here. So that would have been up around the 49.90 level. So about a, you know, $1.50, you know, something like that. That would have been easy trade there. Okay, so that's AMD, and as you can see here, we've come up, we got to resistance. We didn't really bounce away. We just sort of, you know, sort of based, right? Sort of based, and now it went higher. Okay, we broke through. So are we breaking, retesting, and going to go higher? Or is it getting tired and is it going to start to fall away? Right? And the surprising thing is, look, this is not on abnormal volume. This is what gets me, and I've told you guys over and over again. Is volume important? In certain circumstances, it is. Yes, okay? But it's not the end-all be-all. There are some people that will never take a trade like this, you know, even if they have some sort of trigger, if they don't have some sort of unusual volume. And I've said it so many times, and here's a prime example. We've got normal volume, right, on the first candle, and we have almost non-existent volume since, and look at the move. And we still got a big move against what the market was doing. So you can't just totally count on volume. Now, if you're playing breakouts, okay, if you're playing a breakout trade, volume can be a precursor to the pop. I'm just going to make something up here just to like give you a visualization. So let's just say this is a range in here, and we think that it's going to break to the downside. All right, that's our, you know, other factors have told us it may break to the downside. So if as price starts to leave that box or that wedge or that flag or whatever you're looking for a breakout, and you see volume unusually high, unusual volume, that's usually a precursor that a big pop is about to happen. Because if it's unusual, and remember, I've now moved this to where it has to be 3 times average volume before my candle will turn green. Let me see if I can find one. I can't even find one here, which again shows you AMD moves even without unusual volume. But that dotted line is 3 times average volume. Based on the last 240 candles, and how I figured that out is that's approximately 5 trading days on the 30-minute chart. So if you got unusual volume at the same time that it's breaking out of some sort of range, flag, wedge, whatever, that's usually a precursor that a pop is coming. So on a breakout trade, yes, volume is somewhat important. I know a lot of scalpers who that's all they play. they play breakouts, or, and they're a little bit more aggressive than I am. I mean, because I don't normally play the opens, right? I usually wait 5, 10, 15 minutes at least. I do my due diligence. I'm kind of gauging what the market or what a name's going to do, and then I start making my trades off of that. But there are people I know that they take trades right out of the gate based on volume, right? So they're not necessarily looking for a certain trigger. So if they believe, I'll just use this, right? If they believe this is how we ended yesterday, and if we take the top of this out, I'm going long no matter what, as long as I have strong volume, that's it. They're just going with it. Okay, even though I've told you before, once you go from one day to a next, unless it's a weekly or a monthly candle, you're really starting all over. Okay, but you don't want to ignore something like this, right? This is perfect setup. We had a strong move down Thursday. We ended with a hammer, which meant buyers had come back in. They didn't really want it to go lower. So then if you open today anywhere around here, just relatively flat, and you take the top of this out, especially after it spiked down first and then went back up, that's a good play. Now, would I have liked to seen the volume on this be stronger? Yeah, I would have. But it's not absolutely necessary. Okay? All right, so another one that I know has been moving today is Amazon. It was actually one of the first ones that caught my eye this morning. Okay, so here's where it opened up, basically flat, actually even gapped down just slightly. And look at that move right out of the gate. Bam! I mean, just straight up through one level, through another level, and then finally kind of put a base in right through here. Then it tried to go higher. Now it's sort of basing again, but it's up $106 on the day. 106 bucks. I mean, even for Amazon, that's a good move. Now, I know not everybody can afford Amazon. I almost never play Amazon just because it's so expensive. I think you have to pick and choose, and we're going to talk a little bit about that today. I know there's only 3 of you on here, but this will be recorded so everybody else will get to watch it too. I think it's really critical for you as a trader to determine where your niche is, okay, where your niche is. And a lot of it's going to have to do with where you're at experience-wise. A lot of it's going to have to do with where you're at budget-wise, right? So if somebody has a $500 account, somebody has a $5,000 account, and somebody has a $50,000 account, they're in 3 totally different places. Here's the good news. All 3 of you can make money. All 3 of you can play in totally different ball fields, right? The person with a $500 account, they can play in a certain area and they can make good money and they can grow their account. The person that has a $5,000 account, they can play in their own little area, right? Maybe even slightly different trading strategies. I say slightly because you still want to use price action and you want to use the patterns and triggers that we know work on any time frame. And then the person who might have a $50,000 account, they're in a totally different ball field. Okay, so if somebody has a $50,000 account, I just want everybody to understand this. The reason I say it's totally different, they can play something like Amazon, like somebody who has a $500 account might be able to play a $5 stock. You see what I'm saying? You understand? So once you're over 25,000 in your account in the U.S., okay, it is different around the world, but in the U.S., once you go over 25,000, you can then get leverage, 4 to 1. So if you've got 50,000 in your account, you actually have $200,000 of buying power, 200 grand. Now, should you use all 200 grand? No. There's a bunch of different ways that you can go about this. So I'm going to work in reverse order. So like with the bigger account, so let's say you had 50 grand in your account. There may be some people in our room. Our room has a nice mix It's predominantly smaller account people, right? Okay, predominantly. But I know there's people in our room that, their average trade is say $2,000 to $6,000, meaning their total investment in the trade, somewhere between 2 to 6 grand. Then there are other people in our room that they're taking trades of 20 to $50. Okay, but let's go to that big account. So let's say you had 50,000, you have $200,000 worth of buying power. I would say, and I've done a lot of research on this, I would say that you never risk, and I want you to understand the difference of risk I'm talking about. You never put more than 50% of your total account. Hang on one second here. You never put more than 50% of your total account in play. Now that should not be in one trade. Then let's just say you're taking 100 grand and it's going to be in play. Of that 100 grand, you should probably have no more than 1/5 or 20% of that invested into any single trade. So I hope you're kind of following me there. The worst thing you can do when you have a large account is put most or all of it at risk. That's just silliness. Shouldn't do that. So again, working backwards, you don't want to ever have more than 100 grand at play if you had 200,000 of buying power. And of that 100 grand in play, no single trade should be more than, say, 20% of that, or $20,000, right? So you could divide that into 5. You could have 5 separate trades if you wanted. I don't like trading more than 2 or 3 things at a time, but maybe you do. But I definitely wouldn't trade more than 5. Okay. And even if you want to be more conservative than that, I know people who say that have large accounts, they say, I'm never going to put more than 25% of my account at risk, total investment. Then they'll take that and divide that into 5. And those could be what they'd spend on individual trades. So then when we work to the other end of the spectrum, when you're going to grow a small account, you do have to be more aggressive. So if you only have a $500 account, okay, and first of all, that $500 should be $500 that if you lose it all, you should think in your head, hey, it's just highly likely I'm going to lose all of this. And if you lost it all, it's not going to affect you at all. You're not going to be severely depressed. It's not going to keep food off your table. It's not going to, you're not going to be able to put gas in your car if you need to. But you do need to be more aggressive with a smaller account. So if you've got $500, you might divide that in half and take 2 trades with it, and you're going to have 100% of it at risk. But you're only going to take the safest trades that you can find. You're only going to take the safest trades you can find. And you'll be selective, and you're going to get out maybe a little bit earlier. Okay, so I know some folks who they really get a lot of pleasure in trying to take small amounts of money and seeing how big of an amount they can turn it into. So what they'll do is they typically start with somewhere around $500 to $1,000, somewhere in there. I just had an alert go off on JNUG. We'll go to that here in a second. Somewhere between $500 and $1,000, and they'll give themselves time limits. They'll say, okay, in the next 30 days or the next 20 trading days, which would be a month, I want to see how big I can grow this into. And they'll be really, really aggressive with it. And then at the end of that time period, I'm just going to make something up. They took 1,000 and they grew it into 5,000. Just trying to make math easy. Okay. Then they might withdraw 4,000 of that and they'll start all over. Or they might take half of it and then they might say, okay, now I'm going to take 2,500 and I'm going to see how much I can grow this into in 30 days. Now, I would only suggest doing something like that with smaller accounts, right? You don't want to take 25 grand or 50 grand and go, hey, I'm going to be super aggressive. I wonder how much I can grow this into in the next 30 days. You don't want to do that, right? Because that's just silly. you're putting yourself at risk. I also know people who have taken small amounts, 500, 800, $1,000, $1,500, turned it into big money, 20, 30, 40, 50,000 bucks, and then they totally changed their mindset, which is smart. You might say, well, hey, they did what they had to do to grow it. Why wouldn't they just keep doing it? Because at a certain level, you have to get smart about your money. So once they get up, to, let's just say they grew it to 40 grand, okay, they'll take out 15 and they'll leave 25 in because that gives them their leverage. That keeps them with leverage. And then they start trading. They take the 25 and they divide it in half, and they'll never have more than 12,500 in play at one time. And then they'll divide that number by 5, and no individual trade will be more than 20% of whatever 12,500 is. And then they go on from there. I know people who trade small accounts in certain brokers, and then once they get up to 25, 30, 40, $50,000, then they move to a different broker because their philosophy is going to be different with that big money. Okay, so anyway, I'm just trying to kind of talk you guys through that kind of stuff. It all started with not everybody can afford Amazon, and that's why I was saying it just depends on where you're at. Okay, now some other things we know have moved today. Tesla, so let's go there. If I can get there. There we go. All right, so Tesla up $63 on the day. Let's go in a little bit more. All right, look at Tesla on Thursday. Basically did nothing, right? And even the day before basically did nothing. The day before, it actually had some whipsaw in the early part of the day, and then it did have like a decent move up and a decent move down. But then today, look at this. Okay, gapped up, opened at 591.11, and has been as high as 641.30. So 91 would be 9, and then 4. So basically, not including the gap, it's up about 50 bucks on the day. So those of you who like to play Tesla, right? Even if you caught this just right to there and then it started to back off and you're out, obviously I would have tried to exit before there. That would still be 591 to say 631 is 40 bucks, right? So that's even a $40 move. Again, market for the most part at that point was selling off. Some of these names very strong. Okay, another name that was moving today was Shop. Okay, so here's Shop. Here's where it opened up, gapped up. See where it gapped up. Not only is it just above support, which it did flush down, it gapped it up right at the 20 SMA. Flushed down, probably with the initial move of the market, and then the strength came in and went all the way up here to resistance at 447.27. So from open, 423.70, 23. So that's $24 up to here, and even if you got out a couple dollars early, that's like $22 you could have caught on Shop right there. Even had a nice 3-candle play right in the middle. See this? Okay, textbook 3-candle play. Wide-ranging green candle. Get our resting candle. The best ones are spinning tops or dojis. This is a spinning top. Okay, in the upper 25 to 30% of this candle. Once you take out the high here, you know that this one is going to be similar in magnitude as this. We know that we have a resistance area up above here, so I probably would have exited $1 or $2 before. And there you go. That's a textbook 3-candle play. 3-candle pattern play right there. And you can see when we got up here what happened, right? We sold back down to VWAP. Then we caught support and went back up, and right now we're basing. It's going to be interesting to see what they do here into the close, because we've seen several names now that after, after it kind of sold off, that's profit taking, right? You have a move like this, put in a nice little structure back to VWAP, and that's just profit taking, right? See that? Higher high, higher low, higher high, slightly higher high, but now we're basing. Okay, now typically, whatever move, whatever direction you came from, okay, can be likely, because that's what the trend has been on this name today, that we may go higher. But are they getting tired? I would say they shouldn't be. Now down here, it's showing that it's been in oversold conditions all day. But I've told you before, you can stay oversold for a long time. Right? You can stay oversold for weeks sometimes. Now that's extreme, but you can. Okay, but when you come up, when you have this nice pop here, this was a 448. That's a $13 candle. So that's a big candle. Now we're basing. Now if we start to, on the next candle here, if we start to pop higher, then we might see a move similar in magnitude as this. Okay, it's just, it is a 3 candle pattern play, but you can have 2 resting candles. So hopefully that makes sense for everybody there. What else? What else? I think, I want to say somebody might have said something about Walmart this morning, so let's look at it. Okay, Walmart gapped down, but they opened it right at support, and boom, big spike up. See where it caught resistance, right at a resistance level. It went up, but you see where it stopped. Then it came back, right? Profit taking. Moved up. Now it's sort of just ranging right here along the top of this resistance level. Twitter. I know some people traded Twitter in the room today. Okay, so let's look at Twitter. All right. Gap down, sold off down here to support. Actually got below it and then started moving back up, and then, right now just kind of been riding along the top here. So sold off, found some support. Is there a reason? We'd have to look to the left. Of course, right here. See this wick? Anywhere in this wick you could catch support, and that's exactly what happened. If I draw that across there, that's like where the wick starts. And, oh, I didn't mean to put that in there. Let me get this off of there. There we go. So anywhere in here, but if you follow my line across there, you can see it caught support right in this big wick here. Started to move up. Couldn't get over this wick. Right there. Back down to support, back up. And right now, basing. There we go again. Okay, move, base. Is it going to break and go? We will see. Regeneron's not doing much today. Let's look here. NVIDIA. Okay, NVIDIA. Gap down, flush down, ended up as a spinning top right at VWAP. And then you notice, now this is something that I'm trying to get a feel for. How often, once you determine that you're going to be above or below VWAP, how often do we stay above it like this? See, once we got above it, it's been above it the rest of the day. Or if you go below it, are you going to stay below it the rest of the day? One of the things I'm kind of looking into. Okay, Northrop's not doing much. Here's Netflix again. Again, just strong move up. Now there was a base and it's going higher. So let's look at this. I want to show you this. So Netflix, small gap up, flush down to support. Then it started its climb. Look at this, 1, 2, 3 levels it's broken through. Here it broke through, came back down to retest, normal, right? Even here it did the same thing, broke through, came back down to retest. Broke through, came back down to retest. That's normal. But up here, look what it did. It based, Now it's starting to go higher. Here's your base. Now it's starting to go higher. Not in a big, crazy way, but it is starting to move to the upside. So that's Netflix. Oh yeah, we had an alert go off on JNUG. So JNUG, as we know, got decimated recently. And let me see here. Let me go to a higher time frame. Yep, this is what I was looking for. Okay. So it came from way up here, and it's just been absolutely decimated. This is a gold name, right? Kind of came down here, bottomed out, made this base, dropped again, and then has come across just almost completely flat. This base, okay, this base up here, this is not supply and demand, but this area should be a target. So if I go back, auto zoom in, get a little bit closer. Okay, let me go back to the 30-minute. I'll make it easier to see. There we go. All right, so here we are today, and look what we've been doing. Okay, up, up. We kind of pulled back a little bit there, but then flat, up, over, and then today it's been really going. And I can't remember, there was a reason, something I saw told me I should set an alert. And I had that alert up here, which I believe, let me come back across. No, I'm trying to remember why I had it set there. I had it set at 720, which we obviously hit. Now we're selling off, so there's definitely a reason, right? I think the reason I set the alert was on a higher time frame. Maybe let me look at a 4-hour. I think it's like a resistance area. Here's the 4-hour. Yeah, that's what it was. So 720 is sort of the top of this little hump right here. This little hump, which could act as resistance. And as you can see, the candle's going red. And then the reason I set that is if you can clear and hold this, well, then you should get up here, up around the $11 up to, almost $13 range. Okay, so if you can clear this hump right here, that's why I had it set. Okay, 720 is basically right about there. And if you come over, that's right where we're at. Let me squeeze back in, go back to the 30-minute. I want you guys to be able to see this better. Okay, so we've had this big move today. The low of this candle was 554. We're almost up. Let's see, that's 27. So $1.70, right? Yeah, about $1.70, which on JNUG, that's a good move because look at look at over here. It doesn't move like that normally. Now, if it was able to break above and hold 720, that was that hump that we saw there on the higher time frame, then it should be pretty easy, and I'm not saying it could do it in one day, but it should be pretty easy for it to go from, say, 730, 740 up to $11 to $13. Okay, just based on what we've seen. I'll show you again. All right, so somebody who might be a smaller account player, this may be something that they're paying attention to. So look where we came from. Is this not nuts? So on February 24th, we were at $105. And then we came all the way down to $3. Wouldn't you like to catch some of this on the way down? So from 105 all the way down to 3. So here's this little hump, and then we went flat. So once we break above here, you come over here. Let me get in a little bit tighter. I know it's hard to see. Okay, when you get over to this hump, this wick right here goes from 1076 to 1316. So this would be your next, and you could almost say this candle, right across the top of here. That would be your next area of resistance if you get across that other little hump. which was right here. You get across here, then you get up into here. And on JNUG right now, that's a pretty significant move. So like I said, maybe 730, 740, all the way up to around $11 to $13. So if you're a small account player, that's something that you could look at. Okay, Microsoft is down. Squeeze in. I got to go to 30-minute. There we go. All right, so Microsoft is down on the day. Gap down. Actually, it went up, then pushed down, and it's really just been melting down. You see that? This is a kind of day where if you're short shares, you're okay, but you wouldn't want to be in options today. You would not want to be in options on this. That's what you call a slow melt. That's just going to eat into your premium. Google not doing anything. $12 move on Google is like something else moving, $1, right? It's just not anything. Okay, gold. Now gold is moving. Obviously, we just saw it in JNUG. Here's GLD. And look at GLD over the last few days. It was flat, then it gapped up, had a flat day, and then today, just like JNUG, boom. Went from, let's see, it opened at 159.24, but it came down to this level at 158.53. So now from here, it's up just under $4. That's a good move. That's a good move. If this is a name I would have been in, I'm trying to think if there'd be any reason to be out. I mean, the closest that I could see possibly thinking about getting out would maybe have been when it was dipping down here after this doji. Because if I come in closer, let's see if this got lower. 160.62. 160.61. Nope, it didn't. It did not take out the bottom. So really, this is a kind of momentum play. If you've ever heard a trader say, even in a day trade, that they're playing momentum, right here would be a momentum trade for a day trade. Because there's no reason to get out, right? There's not been any spikes to the downside that would have flushed you out. This would have been the closest one for me. Because this is a doji, right? Because this is a doji, let me do this. Just, to me, it makes it a little bit easier to see. That's showing indecision. If we would have took the bottom of it out, then if I was in a trade like this, I might have thought, you know what? Maybe it's reversing. Now you could also be looking at like time and sales, at that time to see, is it going heavily red or was it still a good mix of red and green, right? You can see this thing's being heavily traded. Look at this. Look at these. Remember, that's 500 times 100. These are blocks, okay? So when you see 100, that's 100 times 100. All right, so let me put that away. I mean, when I say heavily traded, I'm meaning for right now, not necessarily, because obviously these would be green if they were abnormally big. I'm saying for the time of day, those were some big blocks that are being traded. But that's something you could look at right there. As it got down close, you maybe pop out time and sales. Is it all red? If it is, I'd probably be looking to get out. If it's a good mix of red and green, I wouldn't be that worried. If it was mostly green, I would be feeling pretty good that, okay, we're going to probably continue up. And it did, obviously. GDX. Okay, good move for GDX. Right up through supply. And was that to be expected? According to our filter, yes, right? Because our filter was right here, about 67. So we were definitely above 60, which that filter is saying not a good short out of supply because the trend was up. See that? when we entered, the trend was up. I could even draw it in just so you can see. See that? So when that first candle got into supply, you come straight down. If you're using the filter to try to help you, the filter's saying don't go short. And the filter was right. It based and went higher. So it moved, based, and went higher. Facebook, just down. I don't think there's any fireworks. Okay, you see what it did? Down right to support here at 170.83. See that? And then rounded off and just been melting back up. Came down, rounded off. So when we talk about a market rolling over, rounding off like this, or some people call it bottoming, when it's round like this, that's typically a good sign that the trend is reversing. Right there, that's Facebook. Crowd not doing much. The diamonds, beyond not doing much. CGC not doing much. A lot of names. It's kind of funny today, right? There's a lot of names that are moving, and they're actually moving against the market. And then a lot of names just aren't moving at all. This is actually more like a normal trading day, right? Before we had the market correction. Apple. Let's look at Apple. Right? Not much. If I come in closer, not doing a whole lot today. Kind of worked its way down, caught some support, and just slowly melting its way back up. Back to the market, we haven't had our alerts go off, so we know the market's not doing anything right now. Okay, see, right down, back up, back down, back up. Almost, if I drew it in here, let me show you. You always want to keep your eyes open. See that? See this here? So what's that tell us? You know me, I'm not big on wedges and flags and pennants and all that kind of stuff. But what is this really showing us? What it's really showing us is that the range of price is tightening. And what happens when the range of price tightens? At some point, again, if you're a breakout trader, you're looking for price to break out one way or the other out of a tightening range. I mean, this one's as clear as day. Down, right back up, right back down, right back up, right back down. See how it's getting tighter and tighter and tighter, and eventually it's going to break. Now, how far is it going to break? Which direction it's going to break? Okay, textbook technical analysis will tell you it's going to come, it's more likely to break in the direction that it came from. Okay, so this is the direction it came from. So classic technical analysis would say most of the time it should break to the downside, but it definitely could break to the upside. But in real time, you should be able to look at stuff like this, and you just draw those in. You can take them off later, and it just gives you a visual, plants the seed in your mind. All right, I know the range is tightening. Okay, there's no doubt. So if I start to see a strong break one way or the other, well, then I got to know what? Well, is price likely to go? Is any of this likely to stop it? Probably not. Would this one be likely to stop it? Maybe, right? This wick here would be our concern. We know that this is now a twice tested demand zone. It's been tested 2 times. So if we start to get some momentum down into here and we break below there, then we might start looking for a bigger drop. And then I know I looked it up earlier today. I think there's one more wick over here. Yeah, right here. See this? So if it could get outside of this, it should have a pretty easy drop down to this support level at 2663.75. Now, there's a lot that's got to happen first, but you're trying to gauge magnitude. And you see, look, it's right now it's catching support right here on this trend line that forms this wedge. Okay. Might watch this just for a minute or so. But you know your surroundings. So this would be your first major test if it broke to the downside. What about if it broke to the upside? Okay, so if it broke to the upside, that's not going to really hurt you. And that's part of a spinning top anyway. Come over here. This would probably be your first hurdle. This would definitely be a hurdle. This big wick here. So here would be, if it started to break to the upside, you'd want to see, can it get above here? And then can it get above here? If it can get above both of those, then it's, pretty much a virtual certainty that it would get back up to opening price level at the top of this candle. Plus, you had a move up, and then you sort of based here, topping tail, topping tail, topping tail, then a strong move away. Okay, so this area should give some resistance if it was to break to the upside. You just identify the areas that could be obstacles. They also give you price targets, right? Okay, oil looks like it's falling a little bit. Okay, oil, see this? So this was expected. I expected they probably were going to flush it because everybody was expecting it to go up, right? Me too. I mean, I expected it to go up. That's why I bought the shares of USO on Thursday. But mine, and that's why I bought shares and not options, shares give me the flexibility to hold on if it didn't go my way right away. Okay, I still firmly believe that oil is going to start to reverse and head back up now that they have a deal. They're going to start cutting production over time. Okay, and why is that important? Some people say, well, you don't know what you're talking about. If they cut production, that's bad. No, it's not bad. It's supply and demand. Right now, because of the global crisis, there is way too much supply and there's not enough demand. That drives the price of oil down. I think I told you guys before, my dad is retired from the oil and gas well industry. He was an executive in that industry for almost 30 years. So it is heavily controlled by supply and demand. So when they cut production, they're trying to increase the price of oil. Do you think the oil companies want, $22 a barrel? Heck no. If it was up to them, they want it, $70, $80 a barrel. Right? And then there's always maybe some happy, medium, $40 to $60 a barrel is probably where they're happy, they can make enough money, we're happy, we're not paying exorbitant gas and petroleum prices. Okay, but this is low. So that deal over time, there's no question. I'm just telling you, if you want, this will be recorded. I am telling you, this deal is going to drive the price of oil back up. I can't tell you exactly where it's going to go. Is it going to go to $30, $40, $50, $60? Well, eventually it's going to go to all of those. Now, how long will it take? I don't know. But it's going to go back up. That's why the world, the global oil community, came together to put this deal in place, because the reason it has to be global, right, is so somebody can't take advantage of it. Mexico was holding out, remember? They didn't want to cut production. If everybody else is cutting production, but somebody else isn't, well, then they're making more money because they're just, hey, I'm going to sell, and we're not going to cut our production. Everybody had to agree to cut production, which then lifts prices, and they all end up making more money. Not trying to give a class on oil, but that's how it works. And right, and if oil is too high and the demand is high and there's not enough supply, then they increase production to meet demand. It's just how it works. Okay, give me 1 second. I heard. Okay, never mind. I heard a little ding go off from the room. I just wanted to make sure that it wasn't you guys saying you'd lost me. I still see that all three of you are still on. We'll go a little bit longer. Right now, there's just not a whole lot happening. Okay, but oil, again, this was not a surprise. When it started to ramp back up like this, I thought really this morning they would probably open and continue higher. But it's just been this slow melt. Then we got a little pop and then slow melt. You know, we're getting close to a support area here. That's where it flushed to last night, right to support. Then big bounce, melted down, kind of ranged, popped, come back down. See how we formed a little wedge right there? Again, I'm not trying to tell you this is how you should trade because I don't even necessarily trade this way that often. But let me show you. Okay, you could probably even come do it like that. Okay, see that wedge right there? Then it breaks below. You'd put a stop maybe right above here, and then you pick out your target. Okay, my target, I don't know if we would have got to it. My target would have been, you look over here, you got this wick here, slightly before support. Would that give you money? 23, let's say down to about there, 22, 24, 23. Yeah, about 70-cent move on an oil contract, that's $700. So if you're a breakout trader, right there you go. There's your wedge, you broke out, you actually broke, retested, and then you've come lower. Now will it continue to go lower? Is it going to turn around? Well, you're in this wick right here. So price could turn back at any time, plus you have support. Just because you have a support level doesn't mean it's always going to touch it. Hey Riz, how you doing? We'll be on for a few more minutes, and this is recorded, so you'll get to see everything. Nice to have you. We were just talking about what's kind of happened with oil since it opened yesterday, and then right here was a potential breakout if somebody likes to play breakouts. A wedge formed right there, broke it, retested, went lower. And we just figured out that that was about almost a 70-cent move, about 68 cents, something like that. So $600–700 somebody could have made on that breakout right there. All right, back over to the market. Okay, you see our wedge here. Still haven't broke it. Okay, nothing to do. Again, this is if you're a breakout trader. I'm trying to give you guys different, everybody's different. Okay, everybody's different. Do I ever play breakout trades? Of course I do. Okay, it's just not, I'd much rather play a hammer or a shooting star after a move. Okay, after a strong move. I'd rather play, stuff like this. But breakout trades are good too. And you never know. I shouldn't say you never know, because you do have a decent idea where they might go. But every once in a while, you may get lucky. And if you're not, if you're on something where you can place a trailing stop, you can really catch some big moves sometimes on a breakout. I typed it in the room, and I wish I could remember the name. Oh my gosh, I will remember. I'll find it, and then I'll show you the chart. RS. Let me see. Maybe I've already looked it up. Maybe I haven't. I want to say I'm taking a stab, and I don't know if this is exactly right. RSTX, is that it? No, that's not a name, or it would pop up. Anyway, I'll find it. And then I'll show you guys the chart. But there's somebody I know that there was a breakout that they missed, and it was sort of fit their wheelhouse, okay, because they like to play the lesser price names. So typically this person doesn't play anything over about $10. They occasionally will, but about 80–90% of the time they're playing $10 and less. They're trying to catch 50 cents, $1, or if you get lucky, a $2 or $3 move if it's like a big pop. And because they're lower price, you can buy more shares. This person trades shares. There was a name that there was this breakout. It was like a $10 stock. Maybe it was even as low as $8. I can't remember for sure. But it went from like 10 to 40. Then it went from like 40 to 80. And then it went from like 80 to 150 in like 3 or 4 days. And he never took a trade because he felt like he was chasing. He didn't catch that initial pop. And he's normally only trying to catch $1, $2, or if he's lucky, $3 or $4 move would be huge in his world. But if you saw it, I mean, it just went up for like 3 or 4 days in a row, no slowdown. When it did finally reverse, though, if I remember right, it went from like 150 all the way back down to like 80 and like that. Okay, and that's usually what happens on those kind of names. Yeah, I don't know if that's a rule on everything, Riz, because you can't do it on TD Ameritrade either. You can't use actual mechanical stops or trailing stops on TD Ameritrade for ES. All I can do is set alerts once I'm in a trade. That's the one thing I really don't like. I love to trade ES, but that's the one thing I don't like. And why is that? Because we know some kind of news event could come out and this thing could just flush $100. Well, if you're long when that happens, right, it makes it next to impossible to get out. So I will, one of these days here in the near future, I'll find that name on that stock. But could you imagine if you played it properly and you were in on the breakout, and instead of just having a set target where, hey, I'm just going to exit right here, you get up there and it seems like it's still moving, so you just throw a trailing stop on it. I can't remember what the percentage was, but it was thousands of percent that thing went up over 3 or 4 days with no like significant pullback. It just kept going and going and going and going and going. And this guy who was like telling the story about it, he's like, this is what I dream of. This is what I live for. And I couldn't get in because I felt like I was chasing. He's like, so when it went over 10, he didn't get in where he wanted. And he's like, okay, now it's like 12, it's 14, it's 18, it's 20. He's like, okay, it's going to reverse anytime now. It's getting overextended. I'm not going to chase. About the time I get in, it's going to pull back. Then it hits 20, then 24. And then, by the time the first move was over, I think it went from like 10 to 39. I'm going off of memory. Okay, so that was like one day. Then the next day, it went from, basically right around that same, 39, 40 range. It went like all the way up to like $80. Same thing. He was expecting, okay, it was so overextended from yesterday, it's probably going to pull back today. So he's looking for a pullback. Boom, the thing shoots up another $40. So it went up like $30 the first day. Then it went up like $40. So now it's up around $80. Then like the third day, it went up from like 80 to 150. It just kept going and going. And he was like, I'm watching it, and you can't pull the trigger. And if you're not comfortable, that's what I was trying to tell Todd Father earlier today. If you're not comfortable about something, just don't do it. Just don't do it. Because the worst thing in the world is that you don't listen to yourself. Okay, if your rule says, hey, I don't chase. If I didn't get a trigger, if there wasn't the right setup, I don't chase. So the worst thing in the world would be you start to chase and you try to get in and you get filled, and then all of a sudden it like totally goes the other way and you're caught, you're trapped. All right, here we go. So look at the reverse. Look at this. We came down, we touched the bottom. It's trying to break out of the top of the range here. It's trying to break out of the top of the range. We've got about less than 10 minutes to go on this candle. You can see I've got an alert set right here, which is just above these wicks. Okay. So if it took that alert out, it's probably going to bump you up enough to get over this. This is the one I'd be more concerned about right here. And then if you got over that, it could really pop. It could pop right up here. Still hasn't even taken out that, that alert I have set yet. So I purposely put this alert just above, this wick here. Because if it hits that, it's probably going to pop it up and then probably can get over here. But this is the one I would be concerned about. And we just did what? We just reclaimed VWAP. Okay, there we go. Did you see the pop? Did you see the pop? I hope you're watching this. As soon as it took that alert out, it popped, right? That's what I was telling you. That's why I had the alert set there. Okay, so now, right there is where it's struggling. I was thinking that pop might get it all the way up above there. It got it right up to it. So if you see my line drawn across there where my cursor is, that's the top of that wick. So when it cleared this, it popped it right up to the top here. But it hasn't been able to clear that one yet. Now it's kind of pulling back. Okay, I wouldn't be super concerned yet. Let's look at the time in sales. Remember, I have it set for only 10 contracts or more. And right now, there's not a ton of volume. Okay, red, red, there's some green. Okay, there's some green. When you watch something like time and sales, or if you're watching market depth, you got to be really quick with math. That's one of the reasons I don't trade based off of like level 2 or time and sales. I only use time and sales like more as a gauge. And as you can see, we got way more red than we do green, so there's no surprise that it's pulling back. Okay, got more red than we do green. But you got to be quick with math. So I know some people who trade level 2, they look for the upcoming orders and they look at levels where they think price, and some of them won't even watch a chart. Like they trade and that I don't like to trade and not look at a chart. They will literally trade off of the numbers. So I'll give you an example. They get in, they'll look at a chart before they enter, but once they're in, they're just basically watching the numbers. So they get in and let's say, let's just take the top of this candle. Hot 27.48. So if at 27.48 there's 10,000 ticks waiting there, right? Or you're controlling, let's say shares, because you're controlling shares. So if there's 10,000 shares waiting there, or 20,000 or 50,000 or some big number, then they know that price isn't likely to get over that until those are filled. So if price came right up to it and then starts to reverse, and then they're watching time and sales and they see it's mostly red, they just get out. And then they'll get back in if they see that level at 27.48, if the next time price gets up to it, if there's no resistance there by orders. By orders. So I've watched some people trade like that before. That's not my cup of tea. And they'll even admit to you there can be orders that you can't see. They're called hidden orders. So a guy I know not too long ago, and he got really, really lucky because he flipped his bias at the last second and he ended up getting paid off big time. But he had a short bias on a stock, a short bias, and everything about the screen told him, you're right. Okay? It came up to a certain level. They couldn't get above that level. The time and sales had went red. And he's like, okay, if we get below, and I'm throwing a number out here, which I'm going to make it even, $50. If we get below $50, I'm going short and this thing should just drop. Well, it got all the way down to $50. Time and sales were red. There wasn't anything on level 2 showing that there should be any resistance at 50. And it would get down to like 50.08, 50.06, 50.01, 50.04, and it wouldn't break. And it'd go back up to like, say, $50.18. And then it would come back down again. Time and sales would be almost like all red, like no green on the screen. Again, nothing at 50 from a large order sitting there that should say it should be resistance, and it would get down 50.08, 50.06, 50.04, 50.03, and then it would start to go back up again. Well, it did that 3 or 4 times, and it dawned on him. He's like, you know what? There are hidden orders there that we can't see. He's like, this thing is about to pop. Because that's why I don't trade it, because you don't know when those things are happening unless for him, it dawned on him. He's like, there's a reason we can't break 50. And if we can't see it and we keep getting down to 50, and every time we get down there, it happened 3 or 4 times, it would bounce up about 15, 20 cents. Then it would work its way back down. It would bounce back up. But there was no reason on the screen. And it dawned on him, there is hidden orders there. And this thing is about to go the other way. Now, hidden orders come from what? Institutional money. Okay, not all of their orders are in public view. And sure enough, that thing, boom, it popped like $4. Like now, when it went the other direction, it popped like $4. But like he said, the guy that was kind of doing it, he says, listen, if I would have got short, now he wasn't going to go short till it broke 50. But he's like, if I would have got short there, I would have been screwed. Because there was no way, whoever that hidden buyer was, there was no way they were going to let that thing drop. They were just buying it up. Every time it got near 50, they'd just buy it up. It'd get near 50, they'd buy it up. And, he's like, if I would have got short and then that thing would have popped $4, big time trouble, right? But he got lucky. He figured it out. He figured it out right before it happened, and he ended up going long. And then the thing popped. And when I say it went up $4, it went up $4 in like 30 seconds. That's how quickly it happened. But like he said, somebody was on the other side of that just accumulating, and holding it up. So, but I don't like to trade that way. That's not for me. I've never been, and you've got to be really quick, right? You got to be able to add. So like sometimes time and sales or level 2, the numbers like red and green will look like they're fairly equal, but if you're looking at the actual numbers, you'll see they're not. So like on time and sales, let me just pop this open. Of course, there's hardly any big orders there. Let's say this whole screen was filled up and it was about half red and about half green. On the surface, you would say, oh, that's about equal. But then you have to come over here and be able to like do quick math in your head. Okay, see how like this is 94? That's 94 times 100, so that's 9,400 shares that's being controlled. This is 5,900. So let's say that it's like half and half, green and red, but well, then you have to be able to do math very quickly. And I know guys who trade this way, and I'm just not this kind of guy. They can look at a whole screen of numbers and they'll say something like, well, it looks half and half, but that's really 3,000 green, 300,000 green and only 125,000 red. Like they can do it that quick just by looking at it and quickly figuring those numbers up. And so even though it may look like it's 50-50, it's not. And then sure enough, price will start to go up. It's really easy if the whole screen's red or the whole screen's green. And that's really what I use it for. If you get to a key level, right, and then almost everything on the screen is green, well, it's going to pop. because they're buying it. They're buying it up, right? Or if you get to a key level and everything on the screen is red, it's gonna drop. So that's the only way that I use those things. Okay, so we did close above the wedge. Now we're gonna see, okay, can we get any continuation? I'll stay on here a few more minutes. I hope I didn't confuse everybody by that, but I mean, that's why I don't trade it. Okay, to me, that's a very difficult way to trade. The people who trade that way, they enjoy it. They're probably numbers people. I'm not a numbers guy like that. I don't like, I've told you that, guys, that a lot. I don't like to do quick math in my head. I'm a visual person. I want to be able to see. To me, it's easier, right? I want to see, here's an obstacle, here's an obstacle. From here to here, there's no obstacles, right? That I can relate to. I can see it very easily. And I know, okay, if this is my target, okay, I also know I want to get out where? Okay, 20, about maybe 27.68, maybe $2 below this level because I don't want it to come up and bounce off of there. Those guys that trade that the other way, as they get up there, what they're going to be looking for are the numbers. Are there a bunch of orders sitting at 27.70? If there is, they're going to get out early. If there's not, they're going to try to gamble and see if they can break through. Sometimes they can, sometimes they can't, because there can be hidden orders. Or orders can get pulled, right? Sometimes you have a big block sitting there, and so you get right up to it, and everybody starts getting out, right? They sell, and whoever had those orders there, they pull them. And then they go the other way. They just got you out of the way. Okay, it's trying to go higher. Okay, so we had our break. Got our break. And then come right over here to the top, 27.48. We're starting to get above it now. There we go. There was the pop. Did you guys see it pop once it broke above there? Pop. Now, right here is where we have to get through. Okay, right where I have my line. 27.53.50. So I have my line at 27.53.60. So really, obviously, it's 25-cent increments. We got to get to 27.53.75 and hold that level. Okay, right up to it. You see that? Right up to it. I'm just leaving the line there. Right up to it, and it backs off. Making another run here. Okay, we're into the final 30 minutes of the day. We know things are like, right, more than likely they're going to get volatile these last 15, 30 minutes. Okay, so far, went right up to it, pulled back. Okay, pulled back 53, $4 or $5. Went up to it and pulled back $4 or $5. I'm just trying to watch it here. We'll see if it gets enough strength to muster over there. But you guys watched it, right? You watched it with me. When it cleared this, when it finally cleared that, did you see how it just, the candle just pops? Because it's hitting those stops. The people that drove it down this way, okay, that's why you have the topping tail. The buyers, the sellers that drove it down this way, their stops are going to be placed right above this. Some people place them right at the top of the wick. Some people place them $1 or $2 above the wick. Okay, but right there is where their stops are going to be. Then you get up into those stops and start hitting those stops. That's what causes that candle to pop like that. Okay, we got over here. Okay, you see again, that's the top of that wick. We went right to it, sold off. We went up to it again, pulled back again. So if you can clear here, there's a good chance that we get up to the top of this candle. Very good chance. Making another run up there. let's do this. I'll set an alert. Okay, if that alert goes off, we'll know that at least the top of this has been taken out. I was going to go away and then it started moving back up again. Okay, we'll come back. I want to, let's see if AMD, Amazon, Tesla, yep, still moving up. Okay, AMD still moving up. So it looks like we're going to get some, oh yeah, Amazon. Remember when we were here before, it was up about $100. Now look at it. It's up 136 now. Okay, so Amazon, we went up, okay, rally, base, rally. Okay, there we go. We got our alert. Let's go back. Let me get a little closer for everybody. Let's see here. Okay, up, see it's pulling back. Right up to it again. Okay, I just set it, like a tick above. Sometimes you got to get, 2 or 3 ticks, or if you're playing a name, you can't just do it like 1 penny above. So somebody I know who is a professional scalper, they don't trade futures. They only trade equities. His rule of thumb, he likes to like really give it some room for him to enter. So he'll go like 5 cents. So if your name is at $50, okay, he won't say we got to break 50. He'll then say like 50.05. He won't look to enter unless he's 5 cents over. And he thinks that, yeah, I'm giving up 5 cents. He's like, but, the people who try to enter right at 50.01, okay, what happens is a lot of times you get up there, you get a penny or two or a tick or two above, then it pushes back again. You haven't, because all that's really telling you is the stops might be just a little bit higher. They might not be right at the exact top of the wick. I typically go 2 to 3 ticks if it's a future, or 2 to 3 cents if it's a equity. So I'm just using round numbers. If it's a $50 stock and I'm thinking that we need to take out $50, I'm probably not looking at entering until, I might even go 5 cents myself, but at least around that 2 to 3, if not 5 cents. Now you're giving up profit, but you're trying to make the trade more probable to be successful. Okay, because see what happened? See this? Now again, that doesn't mean that we're not going to go back up there and test it again. Actually got to move that up. There we go. Okay, so that's the top of that wick. You can see we just barely poked above it, and then again, it sold back down. So this is what, the 3rd or 4th time we've been right up to the top of it, and then it's pulled back. Haven't been able to just clear and hold it. I always say that, clear and hold. When I say clear and hold, I'm usually talking about a wick. If I say break and hold, I'm usually talking about a level or a trend line. But they mean the same thing. It means you're getting above it. Now you got to hold it. Okay, so it's not just, okay, so what that you got above it there. You got to get above it and hold it so you can go higher. Looks like it wants to make another run. Here we go. Okay, it's making another run. We'll know, because if it gets into any kind of stops, we'll see the pop, right? We'll see the pop on the candle. If you guys are watching this in real time with me, okay, you notice it got right up to it, and what did it do? It just kind of went back and forth, and then it dropped. Now it's trying again. It'll get up there, and if it's got the momentum, and if it can get into the stops, without a doubt, there's some stops over here. Okay, and so it's got to get up into those, and that's when you'll see the candle pop. Put this where it goes. There we go. So that's the top of that candle. Okay, it's back up to the top. It's got to get above there. It's right at the top, okay? Because you can look right up. The top is 27. Where are we at? 27.53.50. Okay, there it goes. Still not able to get up there. It just gets like a tick above and then it pulls back. And we know, right? We know that this wick should be difficult to get over. Okay, look what it did here when this was a big green candle at one time and they just pushed it right back down and eventually all the way down into here. Okay, pulling back. Just hasn't had the umph to get over the top of this yet. I'll set an alert again. Okay. And Amazon has pulled back $12 just since we've been looking at ES. Okay. It looks like a small candle, but that's 12 bucks it pulled back. Remember, it was at 136, it was up. Now it's at 128. $8. $8 it pulled back. See? I don't do math in my head very quickly. But what we were talking about before. Okay, rally, base, rally. Right here to a resistance zone. Tesla. Want to look at some of these movers again. Tesla. Okay, Tesla has continued to move higher. All right, there's ES alert going off again. Tesla's moved higher because remember when we were there the last time, what was it up? Like $59 and now it's up like $72. There it goes. Nope, nope. Up to it, pulls back. I thought it was going, but I had a bad angle on my view. Okay, but the alert went off. So we know, again, it barely poked its head above this wick, but it just keeps, every time it just pokes its head above, it gets knocked back down. So let's do this. Let's set the alert slightly higher. Let's go about $1 higher, not just a tick. Let's do that. Okay, now that alert is like $1 above the wick. Now let's go back to Tesla, and then we'll wrap this thing up here before too long. I was going to get off at 3:30. All right, so when we were looking at Tesla last time, I think it was probably right around here, but I know it was like up $56 or $59, and now it's up like 73. So it's going higher too. Again, these candles look small, but this is a big move. Right? The candles aren't as indicative of the size of the move. Okay, now let's look at Netflix. Okay, Netflix still going higher. All right, big move, base, rally, base, rally. It's rallying again. Rallying into close. You always hear me say, are we going to ramp or are we going to flush into close? Okay, right now we seem to have several names that are ramping. What else? Shop was another one. Shop was moving earlier. Let's see what Shop is doing. Okay, Shop's doing the opposite. Okay, so those other names are rallying. Look, Shop is selling off right now. See this? And there we go. ES, the alert just went off. So that means we're at least $1 above. Now we're $2 above. So we got, okay, there it is. We got the pop. Let's see if it can hold. All right. Because I had the alert set $1 above. It went off. And then I looked and we were $2 above. We're still above. I've got it marked there. There we go. Let's see if this thing can really pop. It's starting to get volatile. We're moving into this final 15 minutes. Okay, we were up. We were clearing the top of the candle by $3.50 at one point. We're still above it. That's why I'm leaving my line across there. That line is the top of that candle. We're almost back down to the top. Big struggle right now. Big struggle. Let me pop out the time and sales and see if we got any big orders happening. You can have a big struggle without big orders, but if you have big orders, that can sometimes tell you the story. So far, not a lot. Okay, so all the movement that's taking place right now are mostly smaller orders. Okay, mostly green here on the screen. But nothing huge, right? We're not seeing the 40, 50, 70. You guys remember last week, a couple of the times we'd popped the time and sales out. There was a couple times we saw like 250. So that's 25,000 shares, right? Because it's times 100. These, there's a 25, okay? So that's 2,500 shares. 10 is 1,000. Okay, so this is, you take these into account. So if, I mean, right now, there's the red, here's the green. You try to do the math as quick as you can in your head. Looks fairly equal to me. But again, oh, there's a big sell. Look at this, 106. So that is 10,600 shares that were sold. And look at the price. Remember to look at the price too. Okay, it was sold at $27.54. But then we got these big orders coming in to try to counter it. These are buys. Okay, so the buys immediately tried to counter that. There's a big buy, 144. So that's 14,400 shares. So that 106, it's already gone. It's already wiped off. And look, price is going up, right? That's what we would expect. This got countered immediately with these orders, 144, 40, 20, 25, 46. Okay, sellers, they're trying to counter back. There's one for 50. And again, look at the prices. Look at the prices. It'll tell you where they're buying and selling. Okay, 27.58, 27.59. Buyers are obviously in slight control right now. Slight. They're trying to drive it higher. 27.60. Okay, we're watching this play out in real time. Okay, we saw the struggle. Sellers came in and tried to throw a punch, and it was immediately countered by the buyers. Okay, I'm not good at quick math, but it's apparent right here that there's more buys happening than sells. Okay, and we're moving up. There was 27.61. Watch the price, watch the orders. Got a little bit less than 11 minutes left here. Still a pretty good struggle. It's still a pretty good struggle. Still 59, 59.50, 60.75. What's the high so far? The high so far is 61.25. There's 61. There's no sports. This is exciting to me. I don't know about you guys. Oh, there we go. Look at that. See the drop? Let's find it. Let's find it. Where was it at? It's going to be up. Okay, we went from 63.50 down to, it was like 60, then it was down to 57, 56, 53. See how quickly it changes? You see that? You only know that by watching time and sales, right? The orders just instantly stopped going up. They got up to 27.63.50. All of a sudden, the very next one was 27.60. So that was a $3.50 drop on one order. Then it went down to 27.57. Then it went down to 27.53 in the span of like 5 orders. That's when you get this. And that's why I don't trade at the end of the day. I mean, my goodness, is that nuts or what? Look at that. There's nothing to stop it from like all of a sudden blasting back up either. It's just a control thing right now. It's just a control thing. All of a sudden, the sellers took instant control. Just like the other day when we had that like $29 drop at the end of the day. I saw it happen right here on the time and sales. I don't know how that's possible, but it's possible because it happened and we saw it, and the numbers over here show it. I mean, these are the orders. That's nuts. That's how quickly it turns. That's why, especially, I mean, I know people who trade this stuff, but I mean, first of all, you got to be ultra experienced, and even then, you can get, if you're long there. I mean, we got up close to where I thought it might. Let me do this. Hang on. Okay, I said where 68, right? Isn't that what I said? Yeah, 68. $2 below this level. And where did we get up to? We got up to a high of 65. So we got within $3. I mean, this is a good move. We got within $3 of where I said I would be looking to sell. And then all of a sudden, the sellers just came in and just overwhelmed the buyers. And it happened in 5 orders. 63.50, 60, 57, 53. And it was just 5 orders in a row, just down, 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 down. It's cool to watch if you're not on the wrong side of it. Right? I guess it'd be even better to watch if you were short, but I don't know why anybody realistically would have been short right there. Up here, yes. Up around here, I would, definitely think that. But there was obviously some money that came in. Again, this is not abnormal volume, right? It's not unusual until it gets up around here or higher. But it's just showing you sellers took total control at that point. There was no question. And you could see it. And now it's going to be gone because every time you like close it and open it, it starts all over. But you could see it happen. You could see it happen right in front of your face. All right, guys. Any questions anybody has about anything today? You see they're trying to pop it again. I don't know. I mean, this time of day, anything can happen, but because if there is no questions, I'm gonna go ahead and jump off of here, and then we will do this again on Wednesday. We're going to be doing them at 2 o'clock. I will take just a minute or two. I'll tell you, kind of what I'm working on. So I'm moving all the live streams to 2 o'clock, including the YouTube, the free YouTube ones. All live streams will now be at 2 o'clock. They're consistent. That was my wife's suggestion because I was going to keep them at 9:45, but she said, I think it would be better if they were all consistent. And even, everybody would always look for your live streams at 2 o'clock. Makes sense. Plus, that allows you and me to concentrate on our own personal trading at market open. Because that first, I will sometimes trade pre-market or post-market, more pre-market than post-market. Maybe 50-50 there, but from 9 a.m. to 11, 9 to 11:30, those are your peak hours. Your peak hours really are 9:30 to 11. That's when most of the bigger swings are going to happen, right? When we go back and look at these different charts, okay, I'll show you real quick. Okay, you see the bigger moves, the bigger candles are going to be early in the day. Okay, see, bigger candles early, then they get smaller the longer the day goes. Let's see, what else? Let's look at Netflix. Okay, these are the movers, right? Again, see the bigger candles, bigger moves happen earlier in the day. So that frees you guys up, that frees me up to really concentrate on our trades. Now, as you saw this morning, I'm still going to continue to update you in the room, and I'll answer questions, we'll talk, I'll put charts in there, just like we always do normally. But then we'll do our live streams in the afternoon. We can look at what's happening right now, because then action picks back up around 2 o'clock. That's why I picked 2 o'clock. Okay, the lull is really noon to about 1:30, 1:45, because that's when big money's at lunch. It's when the institutional guys are having their, $100, $200 lunches at their 5-star restaurants on Wall Street. They're gone for about an hour and a half or so. Then they come back, and it takes them a while to get in the swing of things. And then you usually see some action at the end of the day. So that's the thought process behind there. And then once I can get everything configured, I told you guys I went ahead and I applied for that account. CMEG is their name, because there's no PDT rule there, because they're not US based. So you can trade as many times as you want in a day, and they give you leverage with a small account. You have to have at least $500 in there. Don't hold me to this, but I think it's if you have between 500. I think it's between 500 and 2,500. They give you 4-to-1, and then if you're above 2,500, you get 6-to-1. 6-to-1 leverage. So that makes it easier to try to grow a smaller capital or smaller account quicker, right? You still want to be really, really smart with everything. But so basically, if you have at least 500 or more in there, you're starting off with 4 times that, because you get the leverage. And if you get over 20, I think it's 2,500. Once you're over that, I'm almost positive. I'm sorry, I'm thinking in my mind. I think it's 500 to 24.99 is four times leverage, and 2,500 or more is 6 times leverage. But then once you get over that, your buying power just keeps increasing and increasing and increasing. So we'll see how that goes. Now that's a slower process, as I told you. They say right on their thing, and I was communicating with them, it takes normally about 3 to 5 business days, but I know other people who use them, and they said, some of them said it took like 5 days. Some of them said it took as many as like 7 business days. So I have to wait for that. And they said they're very, very strict, and they are. Like the application process was long. I mean, compared to like a U.S. Broker, very long, very stringent. You would think it'd be exactly the opposite. You would think it'd be really, really easy, but it's not. And so then they need time to go through the information and verify stuff, and then they get back to you. So I'm kind of leaning that way. And then today I set up, I was trying to add that account with TD, and then TD, obviously TOS totally went dead for a while and stuff quit working. And that just, to me, that just reaffirms I don't want to do it in there. I don't want to do it in there. So maybe in the meantime, I got Tasty. Tasty works very, very well. Okay. I don't have it. I don't have it up right now. And I also have Webull. We, Bull, Bull, Webull. So I also have those. That's a Webull. I did the USO trade in there. So that's where my USO trade is in Webull. So I have those that maybe until I find out if the CMEG account gets approved and set up, I could do trades in there. But I've had several people in the room private message me and say, hey, I've only got, literally I've heard as low as $100, but most of them are like, hey, I've only got $500. I've only got $800. I've only got $1,000. But I want to trade and I want a day trade. Can you help me? Can you teach me? And I'm like, well, that's what we're all about here, right? I know that the majority of the people in here are small account, quote unquote, small account people. And we kind of hope to educate and help them, because a lot of them have this, I don't want to say misconception because it can be difficult, but a lot of them have this stigma that they're never going to make any money because they only have $500 or $700 or $1,000 or $250, whatever the case may be. And that's just simply not true. And that's one of the reasons I took this weekend to put those different bits of information in the free room, and I was trying to lay it out to where everybody can see. Here's the problem. Most people are so impatient, right? So they want it now, but they don't understand if they can just show some patience, just show some restraint. You can take a small account like $500, $250, $600, $1,000, whatever, and grow it in a relatively short amount of time. Before I had my room, and I was helping out somewhere else, I had some people ask me the same thing there. And over there, I took $500, and over the course of 1 month, and I documented each trade so everybody could see, okay, here was the winners, here was the losers. And in 1 month, it went from $500 to $3,800. I mean, to me, that's pretty phenomenal. I mean, again, it's not like $3,800 is earth shattering. It's not like 380,000 or something, but that was in 1 month, 500 to 3,800. And you're going to have winners and losers involved in there. But the key is that your losers are small, your winners are bigger. And at the beginning, and this is where everybody stumbles, let's just use a number like 500. Even number. You start with 500. Those first, basically your first week, if you're making, 25, $50 a day in profit, that's good. And I even put that, this morning or this weekend when I typed that out, I said, you're winning. You got to understand that. That's a 10 to 20% gain on your money. If you had $500,000 and you made a 10 or 20% gain on that, you'd be like, woohoo, that's awesome. You have to think the same way. That's how you grow your account. Okay, so you go through that first week, and now, I did the math for you very conservatively. Okay, you go from, what it was at 500, I'm just going off memory. Was it 680 or whatever it is? Now you have that. So now your trades are slightly bigger, same profit margin, and your account grows a little bit faster. And then the next week it grows a little bit faster. And you can then, once you get up to a certain level, you can kind of split it and start taking 2 trades, or some people split it 3 ways and they'll take 3 trades. And it just starts to snowball. And you're still doing the same exact things. You're looking for the same setups, the same triggers. And next thing you know, you're like, wow, I started with 500 and now I've got like $3,000 in here. That's awesome. And then if you just continue doing that, that $3,000 will grow much faster than the 500 did, right? So you start the next month, and I think I'm going off memory. I think it comes out to like $3,100 if you're only growing it at like 10%. Okay, so then you got $3,100 to start the next month. And imagine how you could break that up into 3, right? $1,000 a trade for that next week or so. And imagine at just 10% what that could grow into. And you just keep doing it and repeating the process. Now, at some point, you'll get to a point where then you do have to change your philosophy. Once your account gets to a certain size, then you can't be playing with the whole amount. At that point, then you got to like cut it and okay, we're not even touching that 50%. We're only using this 50%. Because that's the smart thing to do. But you just keep growing and growing and growing. Okay, but I'll give you more information on that as we go along. But that's why I seemed maybe a little distracted this morning. I don't know if that came through in my post and stuff, but so thankful for each one of you. Thank you for being here. And if you guys need anything from me, just let me know. Okay, we'll see you later. Have a great day.